everybody, and welcome to the next video in our Moodle 3.4 tutorial series. In this video we're going to discuss how we could create a quiz using Moodle. So to start, we want to navigate up to the upper right hand corner, select the gear, and turn our editing button on. Now we're going to scroll down to the week where we want the quiz to appear. So for me, I'm going to have it appear in the What is Moodle section, and I'm going to click Add an Activity or Resource, and under Activities choose Quiz. Press Add, and now we're going to give our quiz a name. Let's name it Week 1 Quiz 1. And in this description box here, this is where you're going to include the directions for your students when they click on this quiz. So I'm just going to put some text in here. So I have my text here explaining what I want the quiz to look like, and it's telling the students that I'm going to give them 15 minutes to complete a 15-question quiz, and that they're going to have 2 attempts for this particular quiz. Now I'm not going to choose to display the description on the course page, and here we have a whole bunch of options that we can choose here for this quiz. I'm not going to go over every single one. I'm just going to choose a few that I find very important when you're creating a quiz. The first is going to be timing. Now you can choose a date for when you want to open the quiz and close the quiz. So when do you want the students to access it, and when do you want them to no longer have access to it. And if you want to put these dates here, you would just have to click on the enable box and then choose the date. I am not going to choose to do that, so I'm going to leave everything as is. Now for my quiz, I do have a time limit of 15 minutes, so I'm going to enable this and make it 15 minutes. And I also want to tell Moodle what I want to do with those students who have started the quiz but haven't finished it when the time expires. So we do have a few options here. You can choose to have the option of having the attempts submitted or they're not counted, or you can have them have a grace period. If you do give them a grace period of when open attempts can be submitted, you have to supply what that grace period is down here, or you can have open attempts submitted automatically. So I'm just going to leave mine as they have to be submitted or they're not counted. The next section here is the grade section, and again, we don't have any grade categories yet, but we will discuss that in a future video. But if you did have a grade category, you could choose it here. You can also choose to put a grade to pass, how many attempts you want to allow the students, and the grading method for those attempts. So in my instructions here, I did tell them that they could have 2 attempts, so I'm going to change this to 2 attempts, and the grading method is going to be the highest grade of the 2. Scrolling down, we have our layout section here. And this is just basically letting us know how we want every question to be displayed. Do we want a new question on every page? Do you want all the questions on one page? Or any of the other options that are here? So you could choose whichever one you prefer. There's also a few more options here where you can choose the navigation method as well. And again, anytime you don't understand what something is, or maybe you need a little bit of clarification, you can click on the little purple question mark here, and it'll give a description of what that particular thing is. Moving down here to question behavior, you can choose to shuffle within the question. So here under how questions behave, we're going to keep it as deferred feedback, which basically means that the student is going to have to complete the test before they actually get any feedback back about how they did, or any of the right answers, or any other feedback for how they did on a particular question. So that's why during the attempt, these options are all grayed out, and you can't check off or remove any of the checks, because it's just supposed to be assumed that using deferred feedback, they're not going to get any information during that attempt. If you are giving multiple attempts, you may want to then look at these options, these other review options here, because you might not want them to see the right answer until everything, or until a certain point. So in this case, I am giving my students 2 attempts, so I want to uncheck right answer, because I don't want them to see the right answer until everything is closed. So after the quiz is closed, they'll be able to get the right answer, but until then, I don't want them to be able to see that. And you can make any of those changes to any of these options as well. If you choose to, you can select or deselect any of these options. You have a few other options here in the quiz section. The appearance, if you want to show the user's picture, how many decimal places, and the grades. And there are a few other options here as well that you can look at and choose whether or not you want to include them in your quiz. So once you're all set, you want to press Save and Display or Save and Return to Course. And now we have our Week 1 Quiz 1. Now if we go ahead and click on it, we don't have any questions added yet because we haven't created anything. There are a few ways that you can create a question, and in this case I'm just going to show you how you can add a question directly to the quiz, and in a separate video we're going to go over how you can add questions using a question bank. So if you want to add questions directly to a quiz, you click Edit Quiz, and then here under Add, choose a new question. So for this particular example, I'm just going to use the multiple choice example and a true or false example. I'm going to select that from the list, press Add, and now we're going to give it a question name. And this is important because when you're adding questions to a quiz, it makes it really simple to know what that question is by giving it a proper name, so you could differentiate between that and another question. Let's just name this one, what is an activity? And in the question text section, this is where you put the actual question. So I'm just going to put some text in here. Here's my question. Choose the best answer that describes what an activity is on Moodle. We could put general feedback in if we like, and we also have to choose how many answers there are going to be. So in this case, there is only going to be one answer. We could shuffle the choices, and we can also choose how we want the choices numbered. I'm going to leave mine lowercase alphabet. And then in choice 1, we put the first answer that we have here, and this is not going to be the correct answer, so we're going to leave the grade as none, since if they choose that, they won't get any grade. And you can provide feedback for this. Sometimes it would be helpful to do that if the answer is incorrect. And now the second choice I want to put in here, and this answer says something required for the class that students will submit on Moodle. So of the two, this is the closest answer that would describe an activity, so the grade for this would be 100. But you can also choose to give partial credit if you like, but in this case I'm just going to make it a full 100%. And you could also add more choices if you choose to. And now that I've scrolled down to the bottom, I'm going to press Save Changes. So here is my question name, what is an activity? It asks the actual question, and it also wants to know what I want that question to be worth. So in this case I'm going to leave that as is because I want to write one more question. So I'm going to press Add, a new question, and let's do a true or false one. And the question name for this one is going to be logging in. And for the question text, there is only one way to navigate to the Moodle login page. And in this case it's a little different because it's a true or false, so the correct answer for this is false, so we're going to leave it. And if we want to put feedback for either of these responses, we can. And then once you're done, you click Save Changes. And now we have our two questions. Let's say I want the maximum grade for this to be 100. I can change that here. I can keep that, and I can change these according to that. But let's just say I am just working on this quiz. I'm not finished with it yet. Once I'm all done, I go ahead and click Save. And then now, once we have our questions added, we could go back to our main Moodle page and scroll down and click on the actual week 1 quiz 1. And let's attempt the quiz to see what it looks like. So it tells the students that the quiz has a time limit of 15 minutes. And if I wish to start now, and I press Start Attempt. And now we have choose the best answer of what an activity is. So we will get this one wrong, and let's get this one right. And once you're done, you finish the attempt. Now you'll see in the right-hand corner it has a quiz navigation of how many questions there are and how much time is left. And we had set a 15-minute time limit, so that's why it's counting down. And if we press Finish Attempt, Submit All and Finish, and now it tells me once I submit it, I will not be able to change any of my answers, which is fine. And we're going to submit all and finish. It gives me the feedback of my answer is incorrect, but it doesn't give me any information otherwise. It doesn't tell me what the right answer is, even though obviously there's only 2 answers, but if there were more than that, the student would not be able to know what the question is. And that's where your review options that we set come in handy. So now that we have seen what a quiz looks like in a preview, we could go back and change it if we like, or we could leave it as is. We can go back in and edit the quiz if we want to. But what we're going to do is we're going to discuss how you can take questions, and instead of adding them directly to the quiz, we're going to talk about how you can create a question bank and add all the questions at once. And that information will be in another video. Creating a quiz is a great way to get an idea of how well a student understands what you're teaching on Moodle. It also keeps everything all in one space, so you don't have to worry about handing out papers in class, and it allows you to keep everything on Moodle along with the grades.